do it. I'm actually going to stop yakking for a second and talk about this hand where I flopped a a straight flush draw. I flopped a really good low draw. I flopped wrapped straights galore. I think I flopped about 17 wrap straights combinations in that on that set. So that's one of those Omaha high low hands that's just miraculous almost when you see it come through. I am playing 2 games, so if I happen to hesitate at some point, I'm probably making a tough decision in my Premier League no limit hold'em game that's off camera at the moment. Um, just as a explanation of the title, anything but hold'em. That doesn't actually mean that I have a hate on for hold'em or that I don't like hold'em or anything like that. That I don't play hold'em. Of course, I play hold'em. I play tons of hold'em. I probably play way more hold'em than any other poker variant that I have. But so does everybody else in the world. And if you're looking for a stream that's gonna show people playing hold'em, I can probably list out 100 to send you to. Jason Somerville, J Carver Poker here on Twitch is probably at the top of that list for guys to go to if you're looking to watch excellent no limit hold'em and PLO coverage with J Carver Poker. So yeah, if you're looking for no limit hold'em stuff, ask me and I'll send you some links of some people that are doing some awesome no limit hold'em coverage. That's not going to be me. You're not going to find that really here. What you're going to find here is stuff like Stud and Raz and Stud 8 and Horse and Deuce to 7 triple draw and 5 card draw and Badoogie and all sorts of weird variants and all the other kinds of poker that we can possibly find that don't involve only getting 2 cards dealt to you and 5 cards dealt out in the middle that everybody shares. I have nothing against that form of poker. I just think that there's far more talented people doing that, far more talented people out there doing that and I don't need to throw my 2 cents into that pot. I also don't really want to claim that I'm any sort of expert at any of these games. I'm just a recreational guy that loves to play all the different variations of poker. I think that there are some games that I'm reasonably good at. There's some games that I suck very badly at. I'm going to try to be fairly honest with the audience when I'm playing games that I know something about versus when I'm playing games that I'm crappy at. I played some 5 card draw earlier today just to kind of give people a taste of what it's like and what it is, and I was freely admitting that I really have no clue what the heck I'm doing here. And there's a couple of spots where I just really don't know what the proper cards to draw are. You know, whether you want to throw away 3 to draw to your pair, or break up your pair and draw to the straight, or break up your pair and draw to the flush. I just don't really know what the correct move in those situations is, and so it makes playing those games. I'm not very good at those, and I'm happy to admit that. In other cases, like when I'm playing a stud high low game, I'm going to admit to you that I'm probably not too bad at that. I've chopped a $22 tournament, and I routinely win free rolls and low stakes buy-in ones that I go into with that, and I'm happy to admit that that's probably one that I know a little bit about. But if we're playing PLO, I'm not really gonna claim to have any special knowledge or special ability on that form. I'm gonna try to be as honest as possible as I can when I play all these different games, and we'll just have fun. We'll just have fun and we'll see how it goes. So far, I've had a pretty phenomenal record when I've been streaming tournaments. I'm a little bit scared actually, because I mean there's no way that it can possibly hold with this. This, I believe, is the fourth segment that I've done, and of those, no, this is the fifth segment that I've done, and of those 5 segments, I have cashed in 3 of the target tournaments that I've played in, which is, I think, an insanely high number, an absurdly high number that is not physically possible for it to continue over the long term, because obviously it's a very small sample size at this point. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun because I've been cashing like crazy when I've been when I've been streaming this stuff, which is always nice. Yeah, I definitely want to do some Badugi. That's one of the key games that I want to talk in some detail about. I wouldn't say that I'm a great Badugi player by any stretch of the imagination, but there are spots in Badugi that are, that you can look at and um, ways to work the draws so that you've got way better odds than if you go different directions. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that, and I think it could be fun to play for sure. Yeah, I can't believe the way he talks. He is very much uh, very much a mentor, very much the kind of a gold standard for me to look up to as far as broadcasting is concerned. I really like both in terms of how entertaining he makes the stream, but also how darn good his poker advice is. I mean, when you sit down and listen to the way he analyzes the hands, it's remarkable what he's able to do. Um, it is he does go nonstop. It's hard not to go. I mean, the here's the thing. I mean, I'm sitting here by myself playing poker. If I stop talking, all there is silence and a silent poker game happening, which is not something that anybody's really going to want to sit and watch for very long, frankly. Um, so yeah, I mean, when if I don't have a guest, then all I've got is my voice to chat with, and it's certainly nice to have interaction with folks in chat. Um, but failing that, I talk about the hands, and I try to come up with other things to talk about, and so I yak about the structure of what I'm going to do around here, and I yak about past streams that I've been doing and all that sort of stuff, just because it's a way to fill time and it's a way to keep going. But I have found, and this goes back to the point I made about running so well when I've been streaming. I think that there's a measurable improvement to my game from streaming while I'm streaming. And I think that the reason for that is I'm constantly having to verbalize why I'm about to do what I'm about to do. And it's remarkable as I'm playing through this, thinking about how often I've done things where I haven't really thought about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And being forced to tell you all why I'm doing what I'm doing has made me actually forced me to think about why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is a really good thing in poker because you never want to be doing uh, everything that you do. You want it to be done for a reason. And you never want to be acting mindlessly in poker. That's going to be a death knell, no matter what kind of poker you're doing, no matter whether it's cash or tournament, or whether it's Hold'em or Raz or Omaha or whatever the heck you're playing. If you're acting mindlessly, you're not going to be a very successful. Um, you're not going to be a very successful poker player. Um, so I think that the act of streaming and the act of sort of forcing myself to explain what's going on in my head while I make these moves has really honed the game that I'm playing when I'm streaming, and I've been quite surprised by that, and quite happy with that. So, and I've said this a couple of times. I'm grateful and gratified that anybody is actually wants to listen, and would hope, and I certainly hope that more people want to come and listen, and if you find this valuable, tell your friends, and if you're enjoying seeing the other streams and seeing the other games, tell your friends to come and go. But even if nobody was out there listening at all, even if my little listener counter was 0 at the moment, I think I'd still be doing this, because the talking about the hands is helping me, and it's improving me. So even if nobody's listening, I'm still talking, I think, at this point, for at least a little while, because it seems to be working for me. Anyways. Alrighty, we're back in action with Limit Raz over here in our 228 game. We are sitting 11th out of 18 people. So there's 3 tables left in this 8 game. For the record, plays 6-handed. So we got 3 tables left. I believe 4 people cash, so we're a long way from worrying about cash or anything like that. But we're not in a horrible spot. We're not in a great spot. We're not in a spot that we need to be panicky about. We're not in a spot that we want to be jumping up and down with joy about either. We're just in a spot in a poker tournament where you're often in the spot in the poker tournament where life isn't great, but life isn't horrible either. And you can either play or fold as your cards dictate. I've mentioned this before when I've played Raz and the various stud variants. One of the things that I think is largely true about all the stud variants is that more than any other kind of poker, you largely play the cards that you're given, and you bet with good cards and you fold bad cards, and if you play with that strategy, you're largely going to do pretty well in the stud variant games. Now, there's obviously places where you can be a bit more creative than just straightforward. I have good cards, so I bet. I have bad cards, so I fold type strategy. But if that's all you ever do in stud, if all you ever do is I have good cards, so I will bet, I have bad cards, so I will fold, that's actually going to take you a lot farther in stud than it will in any other form of poker. As I've found. The issue with stud, and I find the issue with the stud games, is it's very easy to find yourself dragging out street after street, waiting for that draw to hit, and that will just suck bets out of your stack like there's no tomorrow, and that's really where the stud variants tend to be won and lost, not so much in the pots that you take down, but rather they're won and lost in the individual bets that you save or that you acquire by your betting habits through the course of your various hands. Um, when you can pick up one extra big bet on a hand by playing something a bit creatively on 6th or 7th Street, that's where you win and lose stud tournaments. It's not so much on making the big hand and pulling in the big pot. It's whether or not you can pull in that big pot with that one extra bet tacked onto the top of it because you checked so that you could check raise on 7th instead of betting out uh, when you're first to act and letting the other guy just call your bet. Um, it's spots like that where you're looking for the extra bet, and then it's the opposite spot where you're sitting on the river and you can call or you can fold, and you're going to fold and you're going to save that one bet, and down the road that one bet is going to be the difference between making the final table and not making the final table, or whatever, right? So that's, I think, to me, the key aspect of the stud variance is just to be hyper vigilant at each decision point about what you're doing and why you're putting chips in the middle, um, or why you shouldn't be putting chips in the middle, basically. So we've moved on to the stud portion of the 8 game now. Stud is the stud variant that I'm the least good at, I believe. I'm as I said before, it's probably stud 8, Raz, and then stud would be third in that. But I don't think I'm terrible at stud either. I think that if I've got a leak at stud, it's probably that I'm too tight, coupled with being too passive sometimes and too aggressive with too weak of hands at other times. That's probably more than one leak. Now that I think about it, it's probably several leaks, but nonetheless, that's probably why I think my stud game is bad. I think I have trouble valuing my hand strength and how it will improve as the streets go on, whereas I have far less trouble doing that in the low game, which gives me a distinct advantage in the 08 game, and obviously is the whole point of the Raz game. I'm sorry, stud 8, not 08. And obviously it's the whole point of the Raz game. So I think that's really where my stud deficiencies lie, frankly. I think we'll probably see that as this goes on. I just don't really know when we start hitting 5th and 6th Street. I don't really know whether the proper mathematical play is to continue or not. I do know that the proper mathematical play here is for a 4 to raise a king in every spot that this happens when it gets folded around into him, no matter what else I'm holding behind. We're going to call with a pair of 10s here. We're going to keep calling behind. He could very well be on a pair of kings here, but I'm not entirely convinced that he has to be, nor that he has to be on diamonds. I really shouldn't have gotten into this hand. I don't really know what I was thinking. I think I might have been thinking that we were still in Raz back here, raising him with the 4. And I think I thought he was the bring in with the king on Raz, and that I was raising with the 4 on Raz, which is probably not the greatest thing in the world, and it harkens back to my notion that you really should read what you're playing before you actually jump into the pot. But I think now that we're here and we've got a pair of tens, we can probably check fold on the river here, although the truth is I've pretty much made a hash of this hand, I'm pretty sure. And obviously the first little bit here was a problem, but I probably should have played more aggressively when I hit the 10 on fourth. Yeah, it's hard to say what I can do. I'm actually quite shocked that he tanked as long as he did there, and the same on 6th Street. That's interesting with 3 of kind 9s there. The heck did he think I was playing? We're at limit stud. We've got obviously straight possibilities with our 5-7-8, so we're gonna run with that and see what we get. We're still drawing somewhat into our straights here. We're not really anymore with our 10. It's getting a lot thinner. If he's betting, we're probably not playing much anymore. But as long as, of course, he's checking through, there's no reason to do anything other than play 7, 8, 9, 10. We have not hit anything of value. We could have tried to bet there, but I don't really... Well, given his exact holdings, we might have gotten him to fold, but there's not a ton of hands that beat us that we're going to get to fold with that bet. This is more of a call in a straight stud game than a stud high-low, for the record, because I've only got one low card possibility. The 8 does give me more low, but it's not a wonderful low, and I'm not real thrilled about this low. I am a lot more thrilled now that I've seen the 4 of diamonds come on 5th Street, because of course that works towards my high and my low, and it's time to start throwing money into this pot, in part because this big bet overbets the pot as well and makes it so if he's not got something that he really thinks he's going to make money on, he's just going to go, well, what the hell's the point of me, not even getting 2-to-1 odds to come into this pot. So yeah, I mean, I pretty much have to be throwing money at the pot, and if I'm not, I'm giving up potential value when he either sucks out on me on the river or bets a later street and pushes me off by betting. $17 people left in the tournament now. I am 16th of 17, so we're not doing great. But we're taking some pots here and there, and we're managing to go. We've got our no limit HoldEm coming up next, which is both a potentially dangerous phase and also a potentially great phase to pick up chips in. It goes both ways, of course. Live by the sword, die by the sword. That's the motto of No Limit HoldEm, and it's going to be good sometimes, and sometimes it's going to hurt you. I want to say welcome to everybody who's listening on the stream. I'm just checking my numbers, and we got a few extra people that are listening and paying attention, so I want to say hi. Hey, Burko. Yeah, well, no, it's great. It's cool. I'm glad you're in here. Give me a follow. Make sure you give us a follow, and we'll be doing this. We'll be doing this at all sorts of times. I do live in North America, but I work weird hours, and I'm not working at the moment, or I'm not going to the office much at the moment. I'm on holidays, so I'm actually going to be doing stuff in the middle of the night. I'm going to be doing stuff in the middle of our day. I'm going to be doing stuff at all sorts of different hours. So it was great to have you here for absolute certain, and it was great to chat with you. And make sure you come back. We'll be doing some Badoogie soon. I promise you. I'll find some Badoogie soon. We got a pretty nice hand developing up over here with a pair of threes and a really hot low, 7-6-5, 31. I kind of thought that we were going to get a fold out of that bet. Um, I kind of figured we were going to get a fold out of that bet. So it's worth betting. It's kind of a two-way bet, and this is often the case when you're playing the stud variants. You're betting. You don't really mind if everybody folds and you're able to just pull the pot in right now. But equally, you don't really mind if they call because you've bet for value. So yes, you are really trying to end the pot there by betting, but you're betting for value as well because you know that if you're getting called, you're still probably the one that's sitting best. Four places are paying in this one. We got a min cash of $5.20. First place is paying $23.40. It's a $2.20 eight-game buy-in. It's not part of the Micro Millions series or satellite anyway. It's just a regular tournament, just a regular eight game. This is some interesting developments over here. Our low draw has basically gone to hell in a handbasket, so we don't really have anything low to speak of. But um, the fact that we're still able to get folds there is quite remarkable. Um, we're gonna obviously, I think we're gonna fold that in a high-low situation. The lack of low cards really makes it non-useful. Sorry about that. Just doing some maintenance of the stream and adjustment of my windows. But I'm assuming that we are now back and you can now see the table again after a brief few seconds where it had disappeared from your view. Before which it had gotten a little wiggy and expanded into itself, but I believe everything is now sorted on your stream, I hope. Say hi in chat. Let me know that you're out there, folks. It is great to have people watching and listening. But yeah, follow me, say hi in chat. You'll get notices every time I do an Anything But Hold'em episode. They're going to be coming out in a fairly irregular series over the next couple of weeks, I think. And I hope by the end of the series I'll have covered every non-Hold'em game that PokerStars offers. And once I get to the end of that, I might just load up my Tilt and see if there's anything that Tilt offers that I missed. I think Stars probably offers the most comprehensive list of poker variants, but you never know. There might be something else on another site. Might do the same for Party Poker as well. We'll see. I've got names on both of those, but I don't play on them very often. It's exclusively on Stars. I think we're check folding here. unless he checks back to us. I didn't really play that properly to have done anything other than check fold that flop, which is rather annoying. I needed to have played that differently pre-flop, I think. The blinds are still pretty low. Um, I mean, I've still, according to the no limit HoldEm blinds, I've still got over 15 big blinds. When we go into pot limit Omaha at 61-20, I'm not going to have quite that much, obviously. Um, but there's also no antes in pot limit games, so the pot limit Omaha will be pretty easy for me to get um, between blind sessions. It's hard not to want to get involved when you're calling 60 into 380, no matter what your cards are, and when they're suited, it makes it even more attractive. Um, I'm getting almost 7-1, which pretty much means there are no cards at which I am worse than a 7-1 dog on. And with a flop like that, I am far, far, far better than a 7-1 dog at this point. Um, Hopefully, one of these other fellows will be betting into us, thinking that we're playing our normal fit and fold kind of thing, which is, in fact, we are, because we've actually fit this time. But that's cool. And I think what we want to do is Hollywood a bit by letting the time bank expire a bit, and then make it feel like we're like scary raised. Ooh, 420. I think 420 is a lovely raise size. I think 420 just kind of conveys exactly the message we're trying to send at this point, which is that we're a stoner and we don't have any idea what the hell we're doing. We're just throwing chips into the pot for you. In part, I'm doing that because he's looking at my stack, going, "Well, what the hell? Why have you done this? Why are you leaving half your stack behind? Are you thinking that you'll fold and keep the stack and keep playing, or like what the hell is your point?" Now, obviously, what I'm doing is I'm trying to induce a shove. That's exactly what I'm trying to induce, and I'm insta calling his. I'm insta calling that. So the whole point of that was the Hollywood on when I raised to 420 there was entirely intended to induce him to think that I'm trying to make a move. It's nice when something that you actually think about and plan out works on a poker table, because it doesn't always work out that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that you executed it incorrectly. It just means that it doesn't always work out that way. So it's nice to see something get executed and then work out, and the plan get put into place, get executed, and actually come to success at the end. It's very nice. I don't think that's a hand we need to get involved with in a pot limit Omaha. There was hearts there, but there's not the ace of hearts, so you're vulnerable to other flushes, and there's really nothing else to say about the hand. We would have flopped a gut shot, of course, but it's not really the best spot to be in Omaha. We would have bricked out with a couple of two pair threes and deuces. which actually would have won us the pot in that case, but that's hard to justify going in pre-flop in that case, though, I think. And we're double suited. We got a pair of threes. We do not have an ace on either of our suits, so we're vulnerable to other flushes. I think if we're playing a cautious style, we're probably folding that hand. I think we probably could get involved for sure. But I just think a lot of times we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we think we're really good and we're in fact dominated. So I think that's gonna hurt us quite a bit. Nice to see some people logging in and hanging out with us, playing some 8-game over here. I'll just introduce myself. My name's Lyle Bateman. You can actually see a picture of me up in the upper right-hand corner under the title, Anything But HoldEm. For the record, I am the bald guy. I am not the guy with the earbuds in my ears. I think that should be fairly obvious, but that is the truth. I am the bald guy. Yeah, we're here playing some $2.20 8-game. The whole point of this stream is to play games other than No Limit Hold'em, or other than Hold'em of any kind for that matter, just because if you're looking for Hold'em, there's 1,001 other places that give you Hold'em, and I can give you a list of some of them. I would say that Jason Somerville, J Carver Poker here on Twitch, is one of the best, and I would send you his way if you're looking for No Limit Hold'em. But there's not a lot of people that I've seen that are doing games like Badoogie, or games like Stud High Low, or games like 8-game, which is what we're into today. So I wanted to offer some of that. I don't claim to be a great player at any of these things. I claim to be exactly what I am, which is a rec player. Somebody who just enjoys playing all forms of poker, including Hold'em, but also including all the other forms as well, and who enjoys playing it and talking about it. One of the things that I found is that while I'm talking about it on stream, it's actually improving my game. It's actually making me focus more on what's going on with the game. It's actually making me think more in more detail about the hands, and in different ways about the hands. Having to justify the logic of why I'm doing what I'm doing to the people listening on my stream has made me realize that there have been times when I do things and I'm not really 100% sure why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's really never a good place to be in poker. So anything that you can do to help change that, to help move from a state where you're doing things that you don't understand why you're doing them, to doing things that you fully comprehend why you're doing it, I think it's a good thing. And I certainly think that this streaming and talking about the hands and working through them has been helping me on this. For pot limit Omaha hand, you can do a lot worse than a queen queen king 10 like this. Obviously we're rainbow, so there's no flush possibilities going to happen here, but you can do a lot worse than queen queen king 10 for a pot limit Omaha hand. There's a lot of ways to hit a flush. There's a lot of ways to hit things like full houses and so on. So it's really something that we definitely want to see some cards in the middle before we give these up. if we ever do give these up. Aha, so our friend Legend Tiger has decided that he is going to have at us. Now, one might make the assumption that he's playing something like a pair of aces. Pair of aces is sort of the typical thing that you would expect when somebody 3-bet pots like this. That said, I'm going to see a flop and see where we go from there. Obviously, I haven't improved. I would be fairly certain to say that he hasn't improved. Aces or kings over there, Legend? Now, at this point, I think the question that you have to ask yourself is, does he make that move pre-flop with anything other than aces or kings? Does he 3-bet pot me? His numbers, I think he's been reasonably active, and I think he's been reasonably active against us as well. That could be a simple move designed to push us off the pot, thinking that we are weak. I'm leaning towards a call here. I'm leaning towards a call. Wow. Well, I was entirely correct in my assessment that he was making a move pre-flop on me on that, and it's just dumb luck that he sucked out on that river. I mean, that's just the sort of dumb luck that you got to deal with poker sometimes. That was pretty brutal. Felt pretty brutal on this end, anyways. I mean, obviously, I can go back and look at that and I suppose I could know. What board it comes out with that when it comes out. Yeah, I mean the 5-6-8 is a pretty. He's got a pretty disguised flush, really, or a straight, really, with the 7-9. I don't know that there's any way that I can get away from that, frankly. If anybody who's watching, when you get to that hand, if there's any way, where I'm not really sure where it was that I played that wrong. I mean, obviously, other than maybe not calling on the river, but I can't really see where on the river he gets there. I mean, I obviously think that pre-flop he's doing that with strong hands like aces and kings. But if he's got the aces and kings, is he really checking me through on the flop and the turn? Having said that, I suppose when he checks me through on the flop and the turn and hits the river, I really should look harder at that board and see that yes, it's a fairly unlikely straight, but it's a straight nonetheless, and we are playing Omaha, which means that there's, not an insignificant chance that he's holding that 7-9 combination that's going to hit that straight. And there's actually a couple of other straights out there as well. Now that I look at it, there's a yeah, there's the deuce 4 and the 4-7 that came in on the turn. And then the river brought in only the 7-9 as an addition to the 4-7 and the deuce 4. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose one of the other possibilities for me there was to just commit to my hand, and rather than calling to see a flop pre-flop, I should just repot over top of his bet and let him go. Yeah, I felt like that was an ace high that was doing that, and I felt like my ace high was going to be better than his ace high. Um, I'm not sure I have an explanation as to why I felt that, but it just seemed to be something that I knew in that hand. 69 into 389, obviously we're calling this with any two cards, but with an ace, we're definitely calling it. Pair of kings against there with now a set of kings, so we're obviously giving some chips back to the black bus, which is cool. So I'd have expected the black bus to be shoving their chips at all moments this time along. So that brings us down to 11 people left in this tournament. I am sitting in 7th chip position. We are now in the limit hold'em phase. For 3 more minutes. Average stack right now is 4,727 chips, so we are well under the average stack. That said, the smallest stack is 1332, so we're doing quite a bit better than anyone in the smallest stack. I'm not hugely concerned yet about us. We're sitting in the middle of the pack. We're close to being in a final table position. And really one hand going our way with somebody like Legend or Goraz is going to put us into that final table position and take them out of it. So I'm really not the least bit concerned about where we're sitting right now. I'm not really concerned about busting. I'm not concerned about going out. We just need to be fairly cautious, and we're not. There's no reason to panic. There's several people on the other table that are smaller stacks than us. So at least for the time being, there's other people that need to do things before we do. So we are being relatively tight and relatively passive at this point until we get a hand that is very large, and then we're going to go for broke with it. Now, I think in a no limit context, I'd raise that 100% of the time. Um, but in the limit context, I just don't think I'm going to get the blinds often enough for that to be a profitable play. So I think folding there is not a horrible play, and I think judging by the history that we've had with Legend Tiger, it's probably a play that's going to be in the long run less damaging to us with him on our left. We do need to find a hand that we like pretty quick and start using it to put chips in the middle with. That's an important thing we need to do soon, because we need to get some more chips. That hand's got no value in Omaha high-low whatsoever. Get rid of it. Three diamonds. I've talked before about how three diamonds basically burns one of the cards that you would need for your flush. The pair of tens, nothing wrong with a pair of tens, and nothing wrong with working on that as a high. But with no low as well, you're going to be in some trouble. Same thing applies here. Three diamonds. The deuce five isn't a horrible low, but other than the diamonds that we've already burned one of our outs, we've got really nothing on high that we're working with there. I mean, some straight draws, but nothing really to be thrilled about. So you're just getting rid of that most of the time. Welcome everyone to Anything But HoldEm. In this series, we're going to try to play all the different variations of poker that don't involve getting dealt two cards and having five cards spread out in the middle of the table. Pretty much everything else is going to be in play. I'm also not going to play a lot of the Omaha variety either. Exclusively, again, because like with HoldEm, the reason I'm not playing HoldEm, of course, is not because I don't like it or anything like that. I like it fine, and I play tons of it. But there's just lots of other people that are very good at that and that are streaming and doing a very good job of streaming, and I don't need to compete with those people, and I don't really see a reason, because they're doing it better than I could. But what I haven't seen a lot of is the games that don't involve HoldEm or Omaha. Things like what I'm doing right now, which is an 8 game, which is a rotation of a variety of different games. Right now we're in the limit Omaha high-low phase. We're going to move into a Raz phase next. And it's just a fun way to experience all the different formats of the game. It rolls along very quickly, so if you're not enjoying one phase, or if you're running badly at it, well, boom, in 5 or 6 or 10 minutes, you're on to the next phase, and you're playing Raz all of a sudden instead of Omaha. So it's one of those fun games. We're definitely getting involved with this hand, by the way. Ace Deuce in any high-low game. If you've got Ace Deuce, you want to be in the pot. The fact that an ace has come up on the flop has severely diminished the strength of our low hand, but it has given us a reasonably good high hand. You don't normally expect an Omaha high-low for people to be in with the ace king very often because it's not. The king obviously doesn't help their low cards at all. Being a 3 there is a nice card for us. It means that basically the 4 deuce is the only low hand that's beating our 5 deuce at the moment. I think we have to keep calling, especially given that it's legend that's out there and all the draws that we have. I think we've got to keep going, and I think we've got to be somewhat assuming that our aces are good against legend. I don't think we want to bet and give them the chance to raise us to force us to put another bet in, so I think we want to check. This is one of those spots where we're saving a bet by checking and calling down his instead of checking in, or instead of betting into a spot where we're almost certain he's going to raise us. He's going to check raise us. So yeah, that's. So he won the high with kings full of threes, and I ended up with the low with my, which is a very reasonable way for that hand to have worked out. This is not a hand you want to get anywhere near. There's no low whatsoever, and your pair of tens. It's obviously one that in a regular PLO game or even limit Omaha game, you're going to be fairly happy with this. Your pair of tens is going to seem fairly strong. Your straight drop possibility is going to feel fairly strong, and they are. And they'd be fairly strong for the high component of your limit Omaha things. But without having any possibility of low, you're basically giving up half the pot before you even start playing, and that's really never going to be a happy thing for you. Of course, if we'd have been in this pot, we'd have hit kings full of tens, which would have been, a nice thing to have happen. But what the hell? Ace 3-7. This is something I think that we're definitely getting involved in. And I think we definitely want to be putting money in the pot. Got a pair of aces. We now have the nut low draw. I say we have the nut low draw because even though we have 3 ace, which isn't the nut low with the deuce up there, we now have 8 3 deuce 1. There is no better low draw possibility out there for us. We now have the nut flush draw to go along with our nut low draw and our pair of aces. I think that we can't put enough money into this pot, frankly, at this point. We absolutely have to have the low. There's no question. I shouldn't say we have to have the low. We have to be splitting the low at the very least. So yeah, he sucked out with his straight on the river there. We were scooping that pot, I'm pretty sure, until he hit the river. This is a pretty nice looking Raz hand, so I think again we're going to be wanting to shovel chips into the pot. Kind of the way the coal guy shoveled coal into the furnace of an old locomotive. I think we're definitely wanting to shove shit into that pot. This is definitely a playable hand in Raz, but it's also a foldable hand in Raz. The pair is never something that you're really happy with. You're basically starting one card down in the game, and that's putting you at a disadvantage. That said, the 4 deuce is a fairly powerful 2-card starting hand for Raz, so you've got to weigh those two aspects to the side. At that point, considering where I am in chips, I figured that it was worthwhile getting rid of it in that situation. In another situation, I'm probably jumping on that deuce deuce 4 with both feet and playing it rapidly. Certainly in a stud high low situation, I'm jumping on that deuce deuce 4 with both feet and happily running with it. But with the Raz, the pair makes it not quite as powerful. That's the thing with the 08. The pair actually, I mean, yes, it does detract from the power of your low, but it does so by adding a potential high. So it's almost always going to be worth that trade-off in a high-low game. In a straight low game, it's not necessarily going to be worth that trade-off. I was checking there because I was hoping at some point he would bet. For some unknown, absurd reason, he would try to bet into me. And so, but at a certain point, I just can't keep checking, and I have to throw money out. And he wasn't. It was clear he wasn't ever going to put money in him himself, so I had to make him pay to keep going. We're 2 away from final table now. Of course, 8-game plays 6-handed all the time, so the final table will be 6 players. We have 8 left. I am sitting 7th in chip stack at the moment. Just as a reminder, there are 4 places being paid tonight. 4th place is paying $5.20, whereas first place will pay out $23.40. The ace and the 4 is typically going to be an okay hand to continue with in Raz, and with the queen up like that, you will I won't say many times, but a significant amount of time you'll get somebody here with a low card facing who's raising you simply because they have a low card that's showing up, and it doesn't necessarily mean that their other two cards are giving them any chance at a low Raz head. So there are times, especially when I'm sitting there with a queen and then a 4 ace behind, that I'm going to call through with those and just see how the streets come out. And if I'm drawing low and they're drawing high, I'm going to keep the pressure on, and you can often take medium to large size pots off of people that way. This would be another one of those spots. Although he did it one position earlier than right in front, so it's probably less likely to be a move. But that's something you should probably watch out for. I don't really think this is a spot where we need to play our King 8-4 in Raz. When the bring-in's this low, really all bets are off. So I think it's fine to fold and just let him take through. Now in this case, if it folds around to us, we're 100% raising, no matter what our 2 back cards are. In this case, they're not horrible, but they're not great either. But we're 100%. If we have king back here, we're 100% raising the ace into his king, just because of the situation and because you have an ace, so you have to do that. 7 deuce deuce is actually a pretty decent way to start off a stud high low hand. You're basically drawing to cards in between the 7s and the deuces for a low, and I'm drawing to improve either to trips or a 2-pair or something along those lines. And we are just going to call through on this, see what our next gotta think that he's playing on a pair of kings. We've just backed into an up and down straight draw. We've completely lost any chance of a low draw, however. Same with him. Our pair is almost certainly no good anymore, of course, because he's just hit his aces. However, our 2-pair might be good. It depends. Back at the beginning, we were kind of thinking that he's on a pair of kings, but that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, three of a kind aces, so that's fairly explains the betting pattern fairly well, I think. Limit stud 7-9-10. We could play with this. We don't necessarily have to, though. And it's not one that's necessarily going to develop into a hand all that often. I think we're definitely raising this again pretty much every time, just the situation. This is going to happen a lot in the stud variants where the situation dictates that he's bringing in, I have to raise because of the card that I'm showing versus the card that he's showing. And that just happens all the time. Oh, excuse me. It's 2 o'clock in the morning almost here in southeast Alberta where I'm sitting and playing this. So I'm probably going to be hitting the sack once I'm through with this tournament. But we're not through with this yet, and we're going to go on break here. So I will come back shortly after break, and we'll see if we can't spin up this chip stack into a final table and maybe a cashing spot here. Talk to you soon. Hello, hello. We are back with our $2.20 8-game tournament now. I am sitting at the bottom of the chip counts at the moment, which is obviously not a good place to be. However, I still have chips in front of me, which is a better place to be than not having any chips in front of you, I've always figured. So we are in the limit stud phase of the 8-game. We've got a couple of minutes left on this before we move into the stud 8 phase. This is certainly a hand that we could go with. Pair of sixes is relatively strong hand, obviously. And there's a good chance if it's just to bring in that you're going to get them to fold. It's not always going to be the case, but there's a good chance that's how it's going to go. This is the sort of hand in a stud that you're not really all that interested in pursuing. It's a bring in fold most of the time, I think. You might continue this in a stud high low situation, just simply because you've got the 7-4 and that can develop into an actual workable low. But it's in a stud situation, it's just not worth your time. And in a Raz situation, it's not going to be the greatest thing in the world. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world if you play that hand. The two spades, Queen 9 being somewhat connected, make this a somewhat attractive looking hand, but again, I don't really think it's got enough value for us to put our tournament life on the line, which is what we're doing with every time we enter a pot. Basically, we're saying we're daring the other players at the table to put us out because they all can at any given time. So at this point, I'm kind of half in I need to accumulate chips mode because, of course, I need to accumulate chips badly. But I'm also half in survival mode. I can only accumulate chips if I'm still here when I get the hand that I need to accumulate the chips with. This is one that you're obviously, this is actually the reverse of the other one that we had. We had 6 Queen 6 before, now we've got Queen 6 Queen. This is obviously one that I'm wanting to put as many chips in the middle as I can with. We're almost certainly strong off the start. There's no reason to think that we're not still best, and I think we're just going to keep putting money in as long as we can keep putting money in. So I mean, obviously the way that he draws out makes a difference there, and if it looks like he's drawing into a hand, then you need to be more cautious with that. But that wasn't the case with his board. It was just not, it was clear that whatever he was working on wasn't developing for him. Alright, so we've moved into the stud high-low phase. If I had to say what variant within the 8-game rotation is my my game, I would have to say it's stud high-low. It's the one that I think I understand the best. Although Raz, I feel pretty comfortable with as well. My vast knowledge of stud high-low tells me that Queen 8-5 is a stinking pile of dog poo for the most part in a stud high-low setting. So we'll just throw that away and move on to the next hand, please, Mr. Dealer. Or Miss Dealer, I suppose, as well. We shouldn't be should be inclusive, should we not, in 2014, almost 2015? The king 4-5 here. The 4-5, of course, actually will make you the beginnings of a reasonably strong low hand. The king is the beginnings of a reasonably good high hand. The problem is when you start to count the number of cards you're going to get and start to do the math on how you can turn a king into a good high hand and how you can turn a 4-5 into a good low hand. None of the cards that you need for either of those two tasks match each other, and as a result, you run out of cards very quickly when you're starting to count to 7, and you don't get to a very good high hand, or you don't get to a low hand at all. So that's the sort of hand that, even though you might think that it looks like it has possibilities, it really doesn't, and any possibilities that develop for you through it are illusory, and they are actually chasing you away from your real goal. I think so. That's the sort of hand that you wanna stay away from. That's a foldable hand again. Pretty much the same argument as I just made with the previous on the previous hand. Um, so we got to fold that. I mean, I don't think there's too much of a surprise to say that that's not a very good stud high-low hand. Nor is this a very good stud high-low hand. So I think we'll get rid of that as well. Um, Now this, the Ace King Deuce, is a reasonably decent way to go for a stud high low, and I think that this is one that I'm willing to start raising, putting money in, seeing if people want to play against me. Um, and I think I'm continuing to put as many of my round betting discs in the middle as I possibly can. There's still 8 people left in this tournament. 7th of 8 in chip stack. Although I shouldn't say still, because when we came back from break, I was 8th of 8 in chip stack. So I've clawed my way up one position, barely. Goraz is about 200 chips behind me, so not very much over the course of things. Might play that hand in stud. I'm not really going to play it in stud high-low because there isn't much of a low possibility to work out with him. The 6-4 of clubs makes that a reasonably attractive hand if you consider the 9 your throwaway card, or one of your throwaway cards, and you move on from that. That's actually a playable hand. I just don't really have the chip stack to be speculating with that sort of hand that needs to improve a fair bit before we get anywhere. It's great to see some people out there watching and listening in to what's going on here. Glad to see you there. Click the follow button if you like what's going on. You'll get notices every time I go live with a stream. As the title suggests, anything but HoldEm will be a place where we largely play games other than Texas Hold'em. I've nothing against Texas Hold'em. I like the game just fine. I play crap loads of Texas Hold'em. I probably play far more Texas Hold'em than any other variant, than all the other variants combined. Even probably, I still play more Texas Hold'em. That said, if you're looking for streams that show you great Texas Hold'em content and great Texas Hold'em advice and are entertaining and fun and exciting, there's 1,001 of those out there for you. I can give you a list of them if that's what you're looking for. The top of that list would be a guy named Jason Somerville, who streams right here at Twitch under the name J Carver Poker, and is just sort of the godfather of live streaming in this format. Um, his streams are not only entertaining, but the poker analysis is amazing as well. He's just really a solid talent and something that that if you're interested in learning about poker and interested in learning about No Limit Hold'em as well as PLO, he plays some PLO over there. Jay Carver Poker is the way to go. Pop over there and subscribe to him, and you will not be disappointed. I guarantee you with that. But that said, very few people are playing anything other than No Limit Hold'em or Pot Limit Omaha on these streams, and I want to do something a bit different. I want people to be able to see what the other games look like, how they play, what the pace of the play is, how the structure works. I want complete newbies to be able to come in and learn the basic rules of all these various games so that they don't feel quite so intimidated sitting down at a stars table for the first time. I want people who play these games on a regular basis to come in and sit down and talk to me about strategy and exchange ideas with me about how to do things, to help me out with the games that I'm crap at, like the 5-card draw and things like that. And maybe I can help other people out with their stud high low strategy or whatever. But I'd love to see that both in terms of the newcomers coming to learn the basics of the game, but also the people trying to take that next step into thinking about it as a deeper process than just what are the cards in front of me, and if they're good cards, I should bet them. You're never going to go very wrong playing poker by betting good cards and folding bad cards. But you're also never going to go very far. You're not going to make too many mistakes, but you're not going to make too many really good plays doing that either. So, it's a reward trade-off, and that's all poker. That's all poker is all about. Right, we've hit the no limit hold'em phase. We've actually been in here for quite a while apparently, and we got a minute left until we go to PLO. No limit hold'em is usually something I kind of avoid in these situations, just because it can kill you one wrong move and you're dead, more so than the limit games that are elsewhere in the rotation. But that said, it's also a great place to amass chips, with a quick double up as well. So it's a double-edged sword. I freely admit that I'm probably nittier than a lot of people, especially in the no limit hold'em phase of the 8-game rotation. Just because that's kind of a survival strategy for me in these 8 games. Get to the next level and don't stick your nose out too much. So we are still sitting 7th of 8 in here. There's still 8 people left. We're needing 6 for a final table and 4 in the cash. We've moved on to pot limit Omaha. This was probably a waste of 75 chips because, oh, Legend did check through on that one, so that's interesting. It still wasn't necessarily the best use of my chips because I don't have a ton of great possibilities here, but the 2 flushes always look pretty, so. And I did flop a gut shot to the nuts. The real question is, what has he... I mean, if he's just on a 3, then I probably want to continue and see the river, but if he checked an 8 or 9 on the flop, Putnam Omaha is one of the parts of, along with No Limit Hold'em, where, well, I shouldn't say along with No Limit Hold'em. Pot Limit Omaha is a game that I don't play very well. I don't understand the concepts very well. And as a result, it's one of the parts that of the rotation of a game that I find the most difficulty with. All right, we're down to 7. So we've just had Gozar or Goraz, our perennial small stack, bust out. We are wondering if our friend Banu is in there with diamonds. I don't think so anymore, so I think we are going to half pot bet that again. I honestly don't think he has diamonds. I guess I'm wrong. He has diamonds, apparently. He always has diamonds. Why wouldn't he have diamonds? One more person to go to the final table at the moment by chip stack. That looks like that person will be me. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm still looking to spin this stack up into a final table spot and eventually a spot in the final 4 cash spots. We're still a ways away from that, and we don't have a ton of chips to do that with, but someone once said all you need is a chip and a chair. And I have both chips and a chair. So therefore, I still have a theoretical possibility of winning this tournament. And I'm quite happy to work with that theoretical possibility of winning this tournament by potting my pair of 5s and hoping that they all decide it's just not worth playing with me. That's probably not the most advantageous flop for me. I have flopped a gut shot, but otherwise I don't have a lot, and my 5s don't have a ton of value anymore. I think we're probably going to check through one more time, see what the river brings. When the river brings a 5, that's actually a very friendly card for us. It doesn't necessarily need to come a 5 on the river for us to be betting, but it certainly helps us bet. Now, this being We got ace high flushes and the ace king. We're obviously in this for a check. We're going to check through, and if we can see a turn, that'd be great. Pairing the ace is not actually the greatest thing in the world for us, to be perfectly honest. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's probably opening up someone else's straight draw along with ours. So I guess it's not a terrible thing because we'll split in that case, but so we're losing to a queen, obviously, but we're pretty good with everything else. That makes for a very pretty stud high low hand, not so much with a regular stud hand. So I think we're gonna, or Omaha high low, not so much with a regular Omaha. So I think we're gonna get out of the hand. You can tell I'm getting a bit loopy because I'm mixing up my words, and words are difficult at this stage of the game. Alrighty, we've moved on to triple draw, deuce to seven low ball. This is a hand where you absolutely could draw two to the nuts here. You can just happily fold as well. You know, drawing two to the nuts sounds way better than it actually is in this game. Um, there's not a lot of value for that in a deuce to seven hand. You basically have to draw three to get anything close to the nuts. You're drawing your king nine jack, and you're expecting, yeah, you got three draws to get there, but really a four deuce. If you're gonna draw three, you want to be starting with a deuce three, really. I think. Say hi in chat, folks, if you're watching. Say hi to me. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're watching from. What you're doing today. Yeah, just say hi. Click the follow button as well to subscribe to my stream, and then every time I go online, you'll get notifications from me. I'm playing around with my interface a bit as well. Let me know what you think of the way the page is laid out. I wanted to throw in the little chat box over here so you guys have an idea of what the delay is like and how long it is. We're on a 3-minute delay almost always. And the chat box is now being streamed out so that you can sort of see when the messages are coming through and when I'm going to be able to respond to them at any given time. So if you type something in chat, just don't be worried if I'm not responding, because it's not because I'm not paying attention, although I may possibly not be paying attention, but it's not usually because I'm not paying attention. It's usually because I just haven't seen it yet, and it will come through in a couple of minutes. So that's when we were going to draw one to our 87 if somebody called us, but equally we were quite happy to take down the blinds. Should never be upset, by the way, if you just take down the blinds or the blinds and antes. I've heard people grumble when they raise from the button and just take down the blinds and antes, and they grumble that why don't you play some more and get some more action in the pot? And I was like, well, yeah, okay, I get your point. You want more chips, and that's good. That's the whole object of the game. But the object of the game is to win pots. The object of the game is to pull chips and stack them in front of you, um, after other people have decided that the hand isn't what they want to play. So if you're taking blinds and antes and you're stacking chips up in front of you, the hand's been successful. You've had a successful outing of poker, at that point, and you're getting ready for your next potential successful outing of poker. Um, could it have been more successful? Sure. You know, I could be a millionaire. There's all sorts of coulds that could be out there. Um, Bottom line is you're stacking chips up in front of your spot at the poker table, and that's never an indication of a bad thing having just happened. If you're stacking chips up in front of yourself, that's an indication of a good thing having just happened. That's pretty much an universal 100% hard and fast rule on that one. So don't be upset if you raise and all that happens is that you take down the blinds and antes, because you know what? That's poker, and you got to be doing that over and over and over again to be staying alive in these poker tournaments. Alrighty, so we've come full circle back to the beginning of the 8 game rotation. Actually, we did that with the deuce to 7, obviously. We've now gotten into the limit hold'em. No real need to get involved with a 10-9 here. One of the things I can do is potentially level up to the final table by letting people like Legend Tiger go crazy and possibly put themselves out by overplaying hands. I'm not usually in any danger of overplaying my hands, although I'm often in danger of underplaying my hands, which could be just as bad or worse. But we'll get there in the end. We are still sitting at the table, and as I've said, somebody once said that as long as you have chips and a chair, then you can win the poker tournament. And we have chips, and we have a chair. So what that means is that we can still win this poker tournament. Now this is actually a pretty strong hand, playing limit hold'em four-handed. And I feel like I want to be putting chips in the pot, but I also feel like my stack is small enough that it's dangerous, and I feel like for some reason Tigers wants to play. I guess not, but I don't know. I'm still kind of half thinking that Tiger's gonna have a bit of a connection, and can I fold a pair at this point? Is it possible to fold a pair at this point? I think it is, because the thing with deuces in that spot is he's not folding to my raise. If he's any kind of a player whatsoever, he's looking to put my stack in, most likely. And no matter what he's got, even if it's a marginal holding, it's overcards to my deuces. So the sort of dream scenario for me that I'm begging and dying for is to be in a race situation for my life, which, let's face it, that's not really where you want to be, right? So dump the deuces in that situation. Alrighty, we are still clawing on to our position here. There's still 7 left in this tournament. We are now actually 6th of 7. I correct that. We are now 6th of 6, which means we have made the final table. We have managed to slide our asses into the final table after being short stacked for. It feels like forever. It feels like It feels like that we bought into this tournament short stacked. Um, but here we are at the final table. We still aren't making any money, of course. We've still got to slide in 2 more places at least before we're going to make any money. It is 4 people from this tournament will cash. Min cash for 4th place is $5.20. Third place is going to take home my $7.80. Second gets $15.60. And first is $23.40. This is a $2.20 8-game tournament. We started at 23:40 Mountain Time, which is 11:40 Mountain Time. And we've been playing for 2 hours and 52 minutes now. There's 26 people bought in initially, giving us a $52 prize pool. I pretty much had to do what I did there, and I think I pretty much I am looking to get my stack in the middle at this point. There's no reason for me to assume that either of these guys has a jack. The raise maybe tells me that he has a jack or a deuce. I just no reason for me to put him on any of those. The raise could easily be an ace king, ace queen that's trying to do this. So I think at this point I still want to put my stack in the middle with my 4s, and we'll go from there. 6s, wow. Well, oh, that's sick. That was an utterly sick turn. I look a lot better if I call the flops and then on the turn I can go crazy with it. Alrighty, so that slides us up into 5th position and actually right behind the person in 4th, who is Jettison, which now slides me up into 4th position after that exchange between a legend and Jettison. Jet Saturn. Right, so we flipped over into limit Omaha high-low. And I've got a pair of kings, which is not a great hand in the high-low scenario because with the jack 3 as well, I'm basically completely locked out of any sort of low hands. It's a very juicy looking pot, and I really should be wanting to get involved in this. But with no low possibility whatsoever, I'm basically just begging for the flop to come high. And if the flop comes low, I've given up half the pot before we even get started. Yeah, I mean, see, at this point, I've still got a pair of kings, and I've got the flush draw, but I've given up half the low half of the pot. Now, the low half of the pot may not come in, but the straight draw has already damaged the power of my pair of kings, and now the ace has basically capped my pair of kings as well. So I basically at this point got almost no equity in the hand whatsoever. There you go. I went from having a strong pair of kings to zip. Zilch, nothing. That's why you don't get involved in high-low with hands like that. That is a perfect example of why those are the sorts of hands that you just get rid of and you say, you know what, pair of kings, nice hand, but I don't need it. Don't need to play that shit. Do not need to play that shit. So we're at the final table. We're sitting fourth of a sixth now. Although the fourth, fifth, and sixth, there's basically nothing between us. One hand, and that's all. It all changes. Um, Four people will cash in this. So even though we're at the final table, still two more positions before anybody gets any money out of the deal. It feels like we've been sliding through this tournament on our ass for the whole time in pretty much a last or close to last chip position. I'm not really sure how we managed to make it to this final table, but we did, and we're here. And that means that we have a chance to win this thing. So let's work on trying to win this thing. I think that this is one that we gotta that we want to be involved in. We've got obviously the spades. Having the third spade isn't great for us, but having the ace king obviously is great for us. The low draw isn't wonderful, being a seven ace, but it's also not horrible. We've got some straights in the 7-9 range. We've got some straights obviously in the so I mean I think we've got a lot of possibilities with this hand. Once the flop comes down, that can all change obviously, but we can't be scared of getting involved with hands like this. And I think that once we flop the king and we've got a passable low draw, we can't be scared to continue with hands like this. And we probably need to be betting into hands like this. That gives us two pair, of course. He could have the club flush, which the way that the flop played out is certainly a possibility, but I can't really go away at that stage. Yeah, I mean, I can't really. That's one of those where I don't necessarily need to raise and put all my chips in the middle, but if I'm folding there, I'm giving up a crap load of value that I should be pulling back into my stack. I think on most situations. So that bounces us up into third, but more importantly, it gets us out of the danger zone down at the bottom of Legend and Jet Set, who are basically in fear for their life every time they get into a pot. And also knowing that they have to get into a pot relatively quickly because their stacks are dwindling very quickly. Now, being a rotational game like this with as many limit games as it has in it, and with some of the pot limit stuff, the number of antes is quite different. I mean, as you can see here, there's no antes pre-flop in our limit hold'em. Antes are starting next time around, but it's been quite a while. Like we're in 2 hours, 3 hours almost. And some of the rounds definitely do have. I mean, all the studs always have antes, and things like that. But it's you can actually survive a lot longer, and you can limp along for quite a while. Alrighty, so we've moved on to the Raz phase of our 8 game. And Ace 8-6 is actually a playable hand for Raz. But I'm looking around the table behind me to act, and I've got a deuce and I've got a 3 to act, plus a couple of 7s. All of which are hands that tend to want to get involved in the pot. So I'm not hugely strong. I'm not showing a hugely strong card, so I don't really need to get involved in that, frankly. Five through Jack, same sort of situation as before. I don't really need to get involved with it. given where I am now in chip stacks, I don't really need to do anything. I need to wait and to see what happens with Jet Set and Legend is really what I need to do. And once one of them goes out is when I need to start figuring out what my next move is, depending on whether one of them knocks each other out and they double up, or whether their chips go to one of the bigger stacks next to me, which is what I would prefer to have happen. Like for somebody like Edward to knock out Jet Set would be the perfect situation for me, as opposed to Legend knocking him out. We would get involved with his hand in stud high low, but we typically won't in Raz because the pair um, has no value to us whatsoever. In stud high low, the pair of aces, or any pair, obviously has some value to you on the high side of the equation. Here in Raz, the pair has no value to us whatsoever. All it has is weight to weigh down our hand and make it harder to improve our hand. So we're actually folding. It's painful. It's not something that we ever like to do is fold pair aces, but there are times when you have to do that in the low games. Two cards over 8, you probably don't want to play your hand in Raz. You can get away with one card over 8 sometimes, depending what the other two cards are, and depending what the situation on the table is. But two cards over 8, you're probably screwed. Now, when your two cards over 8 are a pair of jacks, folding is the best option for you. So there's two possibilities here with the way Jet Set has played this by bringing in and then raising the completion. One is that it's total bluff and total air, and this is the other one, that he has a pair of cards behind that he's happy with. Cool. Well, that's Legend out, which puts us down to 5. It gives me. It still puts me in fourth position, which is cashing position. However, Jet Set was about the worst person on the table that we could have wanted to knock out Legend, because Jet Set was the other one that had a small stack. It was significantly smaller than us. And now that Jet Set has doubled himself up through Legend, that puts me in a much more precarious position. Hopefully Polly won't have a cracker underneath that ace over there. This is something of a reckless raise, I think. Got through that time mostly because of how early position I was in. But I also think it's going to pay you off a fair bit when people are going to fold around for you. We're going to largely ignore the 9 at this point. We're going to play a 4 deuce 2 card hand. Um, So we're pretty happy with the way that this is drawn out, and we're actually going to be throwing money into this pot. Unlike before, when we were more on a defensive side, we are now just absolutely offensive, and we're throwing as many chips into the pot as the rules and the other player will allow us to do. Obviously, they were seeing how badly it was running out for them and good it was running out for us as well, but that's not necessarily the case, and you get people to follow you on those for two or three streets and pull bets out quite often. Uh, Hidden pair of kings, or sorry, hidden pair of queens is always a very strong hand, very nicely disguised as well. Um, this could be dangerous, but this could also be an opportunity for us to cripple Jet Set, who is the one person other than Polly who's in our stack range and can do things for us. It's entirely possible that we're raising into a pair of kings here, which means that our pair of queens have been crushed from the beginning. We are developing, however, a flush draw. We're backdoor at the moment, but we're getting there. Where the spades are coming, and that's a nice thing to see. Um, Getting two pair, hitting us queens and tens makes us a lot more comfortable with where we are, and I think now we're much happier putting money into the pot. We've been sort of passively putting it in before, but at this point, I think there's no reason for me to suspect that he's got two clubs back there, frankly. Um, and I think that I'm still pretty comfortable putting chips into the pot. He could be straighting, I suppose, with 6, 7, 9, but I really don't see any reason to suspect that I don't have the best hand still, and to make sure that if he knocks out, then we're in. Wow, wow, that was just bizarre. Alrighty, well we're in for the max on this one, obviously with rolled up threes. Um, and I think we're playing the queens again pretty hard.